guys are like, when I say come on into the fold, you're like, okay, I'll slide. Yeah, come on. Come on. Thank you, Andrea. Come on. I'm inviting you. Thank you. I'll be even more nervous if nobody's up here. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, where are my drama majors? No drama majors in here. Looking for tips on how to get past nerves. Thank you. I don't like being videoed. I don't like my picture taken. I don't like being on video. I don't like any of that stuff. I know. I've asked them to remove that picture. I actually called them and asked them to take me down. There's actually a funny story behind that, Andrew. Years ago when the previous dean was here, we all had to have our pictures taken. And there were like 3 of us that put it off to the end. And I actually got called in. It's like, you have missed every photo opportunity. I'm like, whoops. Yeah, on purpose. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 7, communication. And we've kind of touched on it a little bit earlier about the importance of communication. But it's significant to note that communication, as far as in the workplace, was really set in motion in 1936 by Dale Carnegie. Have any of you ever seen or heard about the book, How to Influence Friends? How to Influence People and make friends? Yeah. Probably your mom and dad or somebody my age has that book. It was widely popular. It became a bestseller because until then, people had thought of communication more from like a linguistic standpoint. And this is the first time that somebody actually looked at communication and its ability to influence people, motivate people, inspire people. So he kind of broke it open with his bestseller. There we are. So, we spoke previously about how management was scientific and it was structured. And during scientific management, people were measuring movements and motion to complete tasks and how they could make them more effective and more efficient. Well, Dale Carnegie said, it's not about motion, it's not about effectiveness, it's not about efficiency, it's about how to inspire people, how to talk to people, how to motivate people. How can I motivate you? How to win friends. I'm having fun. It's a shame we're on tape. We might not be able to use this. I'm having fun. Okay. Okay, so a communication network is a group of employees that share communication. And there's really 2 types of networks. Centralized, which is a limited access, limited number of employees, and decentralized, which is broad. So, for example, a website is decentralized, right? Because information is broadly shared. Okay? Now, in addition to the types of communication networks, there are communication channels, the directions that communication flows. And there's 3 channels, 3 formal channels, and 1 major informal channel. The 3 formal channels are downward communication. So when you manage and supervise in the workplace, you're going to have people beneath you. So when you communicate to them, you're communicating downward. When you communicate with your supervisor or your manager, you communicate upward. And then you have horizontal communication, which is peer-to-peer, maybe to external vendors, customers. Now your informal communication channel is the grapevine. How many of you work? Okay. Do you have a grapevine at work? Yes? An active grapevine? Yes. Some places have very active grapevines. So what is a grapevine? A grapevine is an informal sort of information sharing network. It's a gathering of employees. It's not really gossip. But the intent of a grapevine is to figure out missing pieces of information. So what happens is employees tap into other employees they know or friends in different departments, and when an organization does not communicate in a transparent fashion, employees set about trying to figure out what's going on. Sometimes they're accurate. Sometimes they're partially accurate with trying to figure out. Sometimes they're way off the mark, okay? But what happens is when an organization does not communicate in a complete and transparent fashion, people set about trying to figure out what's going on, because what goes on at work affects us, right? So when an organization isn't transparent or complete, have you ever heard, what's a good example? Have you ever heard a politician on TV where they spoke for 20 minutes and you can't figure out what they said? It's 20 minutes and nothing? Yeah. That's incomplete communication. So when an organization hides its intent, employees get to work. You know, we're industrious. We're busy. We like to know what's going on and how it's going to affect us. So that's what happens. The grapevine builds, and the grapevine bubbles over. And is very active. Okay, so communication process. This is a great visual of the communication process. We have the sender. The sender encodes the message, sends it through a channel to the receiver, who decodes the message. The sender puts in their intent and is writing from their perspective, their experience. The receiver has to decode the message, the intent. Now, during this process, noise occurs. You know, there's actually even been movies made. Sometimes you have two people communicating and they're talking about different things. Yeah, we've seen examples of that. Noise happens with its auditory noise. So let's say there's a truck outside. You know, sometimes I'm lecturing and somebody's pulling up. That's auditory noise. The fire bell goes off. The dog is barking. Your cell phone is going in and out, and you're really not hearing every word. That's auditory noise. But there's also noise that is perception. And noise, whether it's auditory or perception-based, affects the communication. Okay? Feedback is a way that the receiver can ask questions, seek additional information, give additional information to the sender. But feedback doesn't always occur, right? Because sometimes in an organization, isn't communication one way? Yeah. When the CEO sends out an email, do you hit reply to the CEO? No. Okay, so noise. Noise we said is auditory, and noise can also be from the sender not being sure what to communicate, the message not being clearly encoded. So if you receive a message that's all capitals with exclamation points, what do you assume? Yeah, exactly. Upset, screaming at me. Right, important. Excellent, excellent. Sometimes the wrong communication channel is chosen. So say I have something sensitive, something kind of personal. Should I send an email or should I pick up the phone? Yeah, pick up the phone, right? So sometimes people choose to send the message the wrong way. Sometimes the message is not decoded or received properly. So let's say you and I just had an argument, and you're thinking about that argument. Might you be in that lens when you read my email? Yeah, of course. Or the receiver doesn't have the knowledge, experience, or time to really understand what you're saying. And that's why feedback is so important, and listening is so important. So we're going to talk about listening after we talk about perception. So the way to reduce perception problems is to share information clearly and concisely, share information in the most complete manner that you can. Sometimes an information, especially like if it involves an HR issue, there's information you will not be able to share. However, you should share what you can share in a complete and accurate manner. And be transparent in your communication, whether it's one-on-one or organization-wide. Be transparent. These tips will help reduce perception problems, miscommunication in the workplace. Okay, there's two kinds of common perception problems. The first one is selective perception. We have a tendency to notice and accept what we believe and discard or discount things that we don't. Likewise, we have a tendency to fill in the gaps. So if you give me complete information, I will set about finding what the gaps are, or I will set about just filling them in all by myself. How would I fill them in by myself? I would make assumptions on the past. I would make assumptions on observations I've seen or things I've heard. But I would go about filling in those gaps. Okay, so how can we spent a lot of time in this class talking about OB and the fact that you cannot change other people. That OB is about knowing you, knowing others, and having the tips and techniques to be effective in your dealings with others, right? So you don't have the ability to change how someone communicates, but you do have the ability to improve your listening. Okay? And as a manager, as a supervisor, that's really important. Because if you don't listen, you may not understand. Okay? So there's a couple ways to do this. Effective listening can be either active or emphatic listening. So active listening is the process of not hearing, but listening to understand what the person is saying. And there are 3 ways that you can practice active listening. The first one is ask clarifying questions. The second one is paraphrase what they're saying. And the third one is to summarize what they're saying. So in other words, what I heard you say was blah, 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 blah. Okay? In summary, let me see if I've got this right. Okay? I missed that sentence about your interaction with the customer. Could you provide a little bit more information? When did this occur? What was the customer buying? Emphatic listening is not only listening to understand, but it's understanding the person's emotion. Not just what they're saying, but the emotion behind it. Okay? Now, emphatic listening is kind of interesting because it doesn't say you have to agree. It says you seek to understand. Right? So you're my supervisor. And I'm your problem child. I come late every day. I know, that is a problem child, isn't it? So I come late every day. And I happen to be a single mom. She's trying to get the baby ready in the morning. Your job as my supervisor is to get me there on time. And to discipline me if I can't get there on time. But you and I will have a better conversation if you at least understand. Not agree with, but understand. Because I'm going to get stuck. I may get stuck on, but you don't know what it's like to be a single mom. You don't get what I have to do every morning. So once you understand me, not agree with me, but understand me, we can get past that. So emphatic listening is listening to understand the person's emotion, the person's feeling, the person's concern. Not agree with. Okay, nonverbal language. Would you say that nonverbal language, if nonverbal language and verbal language are not in alignment, which one carries more meaning for you? Nonverbal, absolutely. So if I'm a supervisor and I say, I have an open door policy, come see me whenever you want, I'm available. But you come see me and I put my work down, let me take a minute, let me stop what I'm doing and help you. You get the feeling I have an open door? No. Regardless of what I say, you leave there thinking there's no open door policy. Right? So nonverbal carries more weight than verbal. And in some cases, nonverbal and verbal do not match up. So we have to be aware of all the types of nonverbal communication because it can augment, complement, or contradict the verbal message. Okay? And nonverbal communication, touch, glance, eye contact, volume, gestures, breast posture, proximity, facial expression. Oh, feedback. Feedback. We're going to talk about feedback. How many people give feedback at work? Okay, a few. How many people get feedback at work? Okay. When we're at work, we expect to get feedback, right? But feedback can be delivered in a constructive manner, a positive manner, or a destructive manner. So let's talk about feedback. There's 5 basic principles to delivering feedback, regardless of the type of feedback you give. Okay, there's 5 principles. Deliver feedback in the right setting. So you're on the production floor and I did something incorrect. Are you going to tell me about it in the middle of the production floor? No, I agree with you, no. Now let's say that I did something right, but I don't like attention. Would you give me feedback in the middle of the floor? No, I agree, no, because it's not how I prefer to receive it. And if you want to give me a positive note, then it should be the way I want to receive it instead of embarrass me or bring attention to me if that's something I don't like. So deliver feedback in the right setting. Be specific. Avoid generalizations. So tell me, Roxanne, you really did a great job with that customer. Keep it up. Does that make me feel good? Yeah, probably it does. I'm happy, right? Do I know what I did well? No. I have no idea. You're right. I have no idea. Telling me, you know, Roxanne, you called that customer by name. You noticed that he was, you know, kind of had some questions and you went to help him. You upsold him. Whatever it is, whatever I did well. Then I know. Similar for something I didn't do well. You didn't handle that customer well. Then I leave not feeling so good, but I don't know why. Okay? Be specific, avoid generalizations, deliver feedback in a timely manner. This one's kind of obvious. A good supervisor would tell me what I do quickly, what I do well or could improve on quickly, not a year later, not 6 months later, not a month later. I won't remember. Feedback should be task-oriented. It should never be about me. It shouldn't be emotional. It shouldn't be personal. It should be about the work, the task. And deliver balanced feedback. Not all positive, not all negative. Okay? What do you think happens when you deliver all negative feedback to an employee? Yeah, absolutely. You have one unmotivated employee, don't you? Okay, positive feedback, it's kind of obvious. Positive feedback is used to reinforce desired behavior, to praise. Constructive feedback addresses an area of improvement with the intention of helping the employee improve. And destructive feedback that you should not give is subjective, it's generalized, it's emotional. It may use words like always or never. Okay, so positive feedback. There's some really helpful steps in the book that if you want to follow. New managers make two common mistakes when they start giving feedback. They're either all positive or all negative. Sometimes new supervisors or new managers lack balance. Okay? So there's some really good just step-by-step tips in the book. For positive feedback, describe the positive behavior, like in the customer service example. Be specific, have details. Explain why it was positive. Describe how it impacts the customer, the organization, the division, the department, the team. Thank the employee if it's appropriate. A thank you goes a long way. Constructive feedback. Again, it's with the intention to improve performance. And it includes a 6-step process. Here we go. Ask for permission to give feedback. Why is asking for permission important? Do you really need to ask for permission?
If you ask for permission and an employee gives it to you, then it lets you know that they're open to receiving feedback.
I love that.
They don't give you permission or you don't ask, they may or may not be receptive to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bingo. Because if I give you permission, I'm now saying I'm going to hear you. I'm receptive. And I agree with you 100%. And you're also giving me the heads up that something's coming, right? You're not blindsiding me, right? You're letting me know, like when the coach says, we're going to review the game. You're ready to review the game, right? Okay? So, ask for permission. Coach doesn't ask, no. No, coach never asks for permission. But he sends you the signal, right? A lot of feedback. Excellent, excellent. And you know what? I find that people that are on teams are really good with OB. You get the teamwork, you get the feedback, you get all this stuff. So, excellent. Way to knock it out. State what you've observed. Again, be careful not to be personal here. Explain the impact. Again, how it affects the team, the division, the department. Pause. Give the person time to absorb this. Maybe they have information you didn't know. Maybe they have actually a very reasonable explanation. Suggest corrective action. So remember we said the whole point of corrective feedback is to help the employee improve. So don't miss this last step. What do you expect to see different next time? And I would actually add with that, get a commitment. Okay? So this is what's going to happen next time. This is how I expect you to handle that situation. Destructive feedback is not helpful. Okay? And if you give destructive feedback too much, people shut down on you. Yep. Exactly. We know that, right? Because destructive feedback may be a little graphic, but it's like vomiting on somebody. It's hard for them to take it. Even if there was a nugget in there of constructive feedback, they can't get past it because it's too negative. Okay? So I'm going to finish this chapter with reminding you that new supervisors make two kinds of mistakes, two common kinds of mistakes when they give feedback. They're either too kind and they can't say what needs to be said, or they're not kind enough. Yeah. Balance. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for being so kind.